色透明な会話転がして揺らす揺らせば冷めた音色が目を隠してシンプルモルトが氷と一緒に時を溶かしたそれだけってベイビーあまりにもそっけないよダーリン君だけが Start with my music 止めどないそんな風にベイビー見つめてわかる Go crazy 君だけがずっとそうやっているで強くない曖昧なその態度で惑わして君の端っこを感じさせてうまく描いたループの淡路が崩れないよハンカチ一つで包める秘密を僕に分けてよ別にだってベイビーあまりにもやるせないよダーリン君にただありくて地球に会いたくてそんな風にベイビー触れたなら Make me fall in love そしてまた意味深なメッセージそれだけってベイビーあまりにもそっけないよダーリン君だけが Start with my music 止めどないそんな風にベイビー見つめてわかる Go me crazy 君だけがずっとそうやって言うてずるくないほんとずるくない
O, witam sekretnego kolegę. Mam nadzieję, że miło dzionek mija. Jeszcze chwileczkę bym poczekał z samym streamem, żeby, że tak powiem, no chociaż jeden z stałych oglądaczy się pojawił. Do tego w międzyczasie sobie słuchamy japońskich bangerów. Rozumiem. Wyjście do ciekawego jakiegoś, czy że tak powiem, po bułki. To brzmi jak miły wtorek. To życzę dobrego humorku. O, dzień dobry, witamy. Witamy kolegę z Miglefa. no wiadomo, że tak powiem, no masz życie, masz pracę, ale... No po prostu, a to... Tewery wzięty na zakładnika przez, jakby wiadomo, największą organizację w tym kraju. Mepsi zaraz zmyka, więc fajnie byłoby, jakby chociaż Menuska zobaczył. Mówił, że twoja praca nie zgadza się z dewizą Futa, ale jednak połowa twojej pracy to jest branie dyżurów, więc... Trochę... Widać, śmiegu prawdziwy. Nieważne co... Jak los, że tak powiem... Pokieruje... Jest wierny swoim przekonaniom, że... Co jak co. Ale lenistwo to zawsze popłaca. Natomiast, czy lenistwo popłaci Shinya Kano? Nie wiem. Dowiemy się, jest dopiero 11 rano, to jeszcze cały dzień na lenienie się. Słowem update'u, co tu się działo? Skończyliśmy historię Achiego uciekającego razem z Hitomi przed zabójcą i budding romance. Prawie skończyliśmy godzinę dnia pracy Tamy, która actually próbuje pracować, bo potrzebuje 2000 jenów na Jojo Kami z meteorytu, I suppose. I podejść pana Nagashita. Kenji Osamu nie dotykaliśmy, bo mogliśmy nie dotykać i zostało nam jeszcze 20 minut. I rozpoczęliśmy całą historię i śledztwo Minoru Minorikały. Dlatego mi się wydaje, że musimy tutaj, kurczę, tego Shinya Kano w końcu ruszyć, bo raz jest, że jest najbardziej z tyłu, a dwa, że odblokowaliśmy niedanie detektywowi Sasayamie środka odchudzającego Burning Hammer, przez co Shinya Kano może nie umrze. Hopefully. Myśleliśmy, czy... Ostatnim razem jakby nie szliśmy na bedosowanie z tajemniczym kolesiem, więc na razie nie mam powodu, żeby zmieniać tej decyzji. Czy mogę to skipnąć? Mogę. Zwłaszcza, że to wyglądało na pusty wybór. W ogóle czemu gadaliśmy z cosplay detektywem? Bo się z nim spotkaliśmy i powiedział nam, że odwalamy cringe'ówę. You gotta stop staring at everyone. An oddly dressed passenger murmured into Kano's ear. Blend into your surroundings more. Sasayama? When did you get here? His partner had somehow found the time to change his disguise. The steel expression on his face was at odds with his anime-nerd getup. Kano had seen Sasayama disguise himself as plenty of things throughout the years. Santa Claus, Yakuza member, Japanese folk singer, and a Buddhist priest to name a few. But this was a new extreme, even for him. When he first joined the force, Kano had found Sasayama's costuming antics amusing, wondering where he had managed to find his outfits. Lately, his quirk had become tedious. Concentrate. Keep your eyes peeled. Sasayama gave Kano a pat on the backside and slipped away into the next car. The suspect, meanwhile, was still staring out the window. The announcer's electronic voice filled the train compartment. Next stop, Harajuku. Next stop, Harajuku. Huh? Kano almost cried out. The suspect was moving toward the exit door. Apparently, he was only taking the train one station down the line. The train pulled into Harajuku station, and the man got off. Harajuku, the area east of the Japan Rail Harajuku station, corresponding to Jingume 1 Chome in Shibuya. Once a bustling Shukuba or post station, where travelers could rest while journeying across the country. In modern times, it bustles instead with high schoolers after school displaying flashy youth fashion. Clothing and accessory stores and fast food restaurants line the streets. Many cutting-edge trends in Japanese youth culture get their start here. The detectives following him disembark accordingly. No w sumie Sasayama wie co robi. Przewidział to swym expem detektywa, że będzie szedł do Harajuku, więc jakby dlatego o taką outfit założył. Keikaku. The suspect walked along the platform and took a seat on an empty bench. Was he checking to see if he had a tail? Sticking around on the platform at the station where you just got off was pretty unusual behavior. Not wanting to arouse the man's suspicion, the investigators from the MPD made their way down the stairs, as inconspicuously as they could. Co tu się dzieje? Chłopak, jak bardzo od początku nie wiesz co się dzieje, w stosunku do bieżąco nie wiesz co się dzieje. To od tego zależy, jakie będzie, że tak powiem, wyjaśnienie skrótowe. Okej, dziękuję. Kolejny. Nastąpiło 28 kwietnia. W samym sercu Shibui nastąpiło przekazanie okupu porywaczom, ale Shinya Kano, młody rookie cop, którym właśnie teraz gramy, kind of spierdolił całą sprawę, okup poleciał, siostra porwanej została porwana, ale przez good guy'a tym razem, tylko gliniarze o tym nie wiedzą. Przez not Kiryu, powiedzmy. Rzeczy się działy, bardzo różne i niezwiązane z niczym. A teraz z powrotem jako rookie cop Shinya Kano gonimy typa, który dostał walizkę z okupem od poprzedniego gościa, który szedł z walizką z okupem, który dostał od poprzedniego gościa, który szedł z walizką z okupem, który uciekł do pociągu i wyszedł po jednej stacji i to do końca nie ma sensu, ale Keikaku, ale jakby to jest zaplanowane, że to nie ma sensu. No i za nim idziemy. A koleś jest gaijinem, jest łysy i ma spluwę. Bo już raz nas zabił. W innym timeline'ie. Kano, however, had a sudden inspiration and went to speak to one of the station attendants. Sorry to bother you, but I think I left something on the train just now. He tried to keep an eye on the man on the bench as he fed his story to the attendant. O, to jest jeden z gość z gangu tajemniczego złych ludzi. The suspect sat silently on the bench, attaché case clutched securely in his arms. Jeśli dobrze pamiętam, to jest chyba 200 000 jenów w tej walizce, ale nie pamiętam. He didn't really look like he was checking for a tail. Was he waiting here for someone else then? Before long, a train heading counterclockwise around the loop arrived. The man rose from the bench and stepped up to the boarding area. Wait, what the heck? If this guy got on the clockwise train, wouldn't that just take him right back to Shibuya Station? The man boarded the train. Kano had no choice but to follow suit. Was this guy playing them? The suspect got off again once the train reached Shibuya. All he'd done was go to Harajuku and come right back. Kano reported in to Kuze. The suspect has returned to Shibuya Station. Acknowledged. Keep tailing him. Kano felt himself growing increasingly paranoid. This criminal organization didn't seem too keen on getting away. And here was HQ, giving this guy free rein. Something was off. He was sure of that. As he tailed the mark, Kano took out his phone. What were Tatena's instincts about the case right now? If the senior detective had any advice, Kano would love to hear it. He dialed Tatena's number. The line rang a few times, but nobody picked up. Czy tutejszy Kuze tak samo żałosny jak w Yakuzie? Tutaj Kuze jest jakby szefem akcji policyjnej. Trochę jest żałosny, ale na razie chyba bardziej comedy żałosny niż kompetencje żałosne. Nie jest jeszcze do końca jasne, czy jest shit policjantem, ale ma żałosne quirki na razie. Tak to może ujmijmy. Probably he was too busy seeing to hit on his safety. Kano felt bewildered. Ale oczywiście raczej... Okej, on jest tym rodzajem komendanta, który jest raczej kompetentny, ale correct choice to jest i tak pójście loose cannon, bo protagonist wie lepiej. They'd been letting the suspect lead them around for over an hour now. Znaczy, Kano nie wie lepiej, ale Kano po spróbowaniu 8 timeline'ów trafi przypadkowo na lepszą trasę. On nie jest dobrym policjantem. During the abduction case, you generally didn't update the victim's family on any developments in case they tried to interfere. Kano could only imagine what the Osawa family was going through right now. After a short walk from Shibuya Station, the attaché case was handed off yet again. This time, the recipient was a tall, dark-skinned man. O, z zegarkiem Armani, co? Again, the Shibuya-based task force split into two groups in order to tail both suspects. Kano stuck with the man who had the case. As the previous man had done, the newest suspect wandered around Dogenzaka for a while. Repeatedly looping around and around the same locations was a weirdly roundabout way to make a series of handoffs. Excuse me, detective? Kano turned around with a start. Oh, hey, he said. I know you. It was Leland Palmer, the lecturer who'd been an eyewitness to the kidnapping. The man practically radiated concern. How is Maria doing? Is she alright? I am very, worried for her. His Japanese was more halting now. My heart, it is with her family. Kano gave a quick look around. It didn't appear that they were being washed. A jeśli termin lecturer nie jest w kontekście jasny, to jest gaijin, który daje korepetycje z angielskiego. To jakby o to chodzi. It didn't appear that they were being washed. To jest chyba, koledzy, Twin Peaks moment. Czy miły nauczyciel w Turtleneku po prostu się wtrąca, bo jest miłym kolesiem, czy jednak zna rodzinę and shit, czy jednak ziomku, jesteś w połowie śledztwa, śledząc kolesi, którzy się kręcą w kółko. Tylko czat zna odpowiedź. No ale to nie jest, widzisz, Mepsi sprawa Laury, tylko Mario Sawa, to może to nie odpowiada. Akurat. The syndicate spot us. My cover's blown. We're host. Can't stick around like this. Leland, I'm sorry, but at this stage I can't share any details. Is that so? Oh yes, of course. Leland cast his eyes down and hung his head. Please don't worry though. We're still hard at work, investigating. Ah yes, thank you very much. With that, Kano turned away from the lecturer and went back to tailing his suspect. He pulled his phone from his pocket. It was Rumi again. Jego dziewczyna. It was weird that she'd called twice when she knew he was in the middle of something important. Had something happened while she was waiting at the cafe with Shizuo? Kano picked up hurriedly. What's the matter? What's the matter? You know what the matter is. Rather than Rumi's soft soprano, it was a threatening masculine voice that came over the phone. Dozo Mepsi, życzę miłego wieczora. Oh. Kano felt his whole body stiffen with dread. Is this... Is this my father-in-law speaking? Don't remember being anyone's father-in-law. The speaker's tone was firm and flat. No, I know, I just, Kano found himself at a loss for words. So you're dating my daughter, huh? Sir, yes, sir. Kano barely squeaked out his reply. Thinking about getting married? Yes, sir. And speaking of which, I'd love the chance to sit down and have a nice long... Then how long are you gonna keep me waiting? Hurry up and get your ass over here. Oh, how very much Kano wish he could do exactly that. Sir, I would, but... Forget it. The words came in an angry half. You can't have her. Goodbye. What? Sir, please wait. As Kano cried in desperation, he heard Rumi's voice on the other end of the line. Dad, you can't just use my phone like that. You are taking too long in the bathroom. Give it back. Rumi? Kano tried and failed to keep the heartbreak out of his voice. Sweetie, what's wrong? Your father just said he doesn't want us getting married. What? Dad? What did you say to my boyfriend? Listen to you, calling that boy little pet names and whatnot. I think you're a little too attached. Daddy, you haven't even met him. That's why I told you to have him come see me. How long he's gonna make me wait? Kano listened as the two argued on the other end of the phone. The phone must be lying somewhere between them. Could this get any more awkward? Rumi, I'm sorry. Kano shouted apologetically into the mouthpiece. This is all my fault. Please, you don't have to fight like this. The phone clattered as Rumi scrambled to bring it to her cheek. No, I'm the one who should be sorry. Sorry for what? It was Shizuo again, grumbling in the background. You have nothing to apologize for. I'll deal with my father, Rumi said hastily. Just focus on work, sweetie. I know you're in the middle of something really important. Thanks, Rumi. Kano was legitimately touched. I'll do my best. Kano hung up and went back to the task at hand, more determined than ever. No tata na pewno niby jest teściem, ale trochę jak teściowa, co nie? For Rumi's sake, not to mention the victims, he needed to focus on cracking this case. The man he was tailing was walking several meters ahead. There was no telling when Kuze might give the arrest order. Kano braced himself to spring into action the very instant the order came down. Mobile command to all units. Once more, the director's voice came in over the wireless. Was it time to make the arrest at last? We've identified the man who first picked up the attaché case by the statue of Hachiko. No arrest yet, then. But still, a crucial development. His name is Tariq Al-Karawan. He's got priors for larceny, illegal possession of narcotics, you name it. He belongs to a foreign criminal syndicate operating in Shibuya. Kano felt his apprehension rising. If this syndicate was behind the kidnapping, they were anything but amateurs. And though they might be leading the police on a wild goose chase, they certainly weren't playing around. Okej. Kano dojechał do 12. Został Kenji, który jakby utknął z timeoutem to be continue. W teorii utknął z linią to be continued, ale jej nie widać, więc coś się mogło zmienić między timeline'ami z naszym ostatnim wyborem. Zobaczymy. Ale na pewno możemy kontynuować Tamę, bo Tama się zatrzymała na tym, że wpadł Minorikawa i depierdolił baseballem wszystkiemu. Ale jesteśmy nierykałe gdzie indziej, więc historia Katamy na pewno może iść teraz do przodu. Jesteśmy w flashbacku. Flashbacku, że zobaczyła magiczny kamień w Lombardzie. Somehow, I managed to drag myself away from the shop. Just a few minutes later, I ran into Mr. Yanagishita. Hey! A voice said out of nowhere. If you want, I can pay you 10,000 for a day's work. O nie, okej, może... Powinniśmy móc przeskoczyć dalej. To jest trochę niestety niezręczne z tym, jak się coś gdzieś zmieni, w którym momencie można... I... Tak, nas przekonywał, żebyśmy byli modelką. Anyway, real quick. Could you put this on? Mr. Nagishita briskly rummaged through his bindle, then thrust the cat costume out toward me. What? Here? Yeah. Before the sales event, you gotta hand out some samples. Moment. The job's already started, you know? A, moment. Tak, nie mogę wrócić do teraźniejszości, musimy tutaj znowu czytać. And with that, Mr. Yanagishita went about getting me into the mascot suit. Looking back on it, it was a pretty ridiculous turn of events. Still, if I was going to get my hands on that necklace, I had to take the chance that this job would pay out. I doubt we were gonna be able to sell a single bottle of this crap, Cheery whispers in my ear. I just have to do the best I can, I say. I say it more to myself than to anyone else. Once again, I ask myself, why am I in such a rush to get this necklace anyway? I honestly don't know. It's the strangest thing. I try my hardest to think of a reason, but all I get is a dull aching throb at the back of my head. It's the same pain I felt earlier, as if I've gotten a good bonk on the head or something. Wydaje mi się, że Tama jest stand userem po prostu i... Killer Queen bites the dust to... Tam być postacią w Tekkenie, owszem. No i tak, tutaj też dojechaliśmy do końca, mimo że to jest wcześnie, kurczę. Miasta co 35-40? Gdzie normalnie to byłoby do ponad godziny. Został Osawa. Osawa, który w teorii się skończył, jeśli dobrze pamiętam, tymi liniami, że trzeba przeskoczyć cudzej opowieści. Ale z jakiegoś powodu tego końca teraz nie widać, więc zobaczmy, co się zmieniło, kiedy stawiliśmy go słuchającego J-popu, zamiast skonfrontować swoje problemy. Surely something that had such a strong effect on the body and mind alike also conveyed a deeper meaning. Osawa let the positive energy flow through him, wooing his spirits. At last, when his mood had sufficiently calmed under the music's influence, Osawa reached for the handset. Also, Smiglew, Tama ponoć postacią w Tekkenie. Poczekaj do godziny, nie chcę skłamać, 13 albo 15. Nie wykluczam, że Tama będzie postacią w Tekkenie. To ja tylko tyle zetizuję. Oh, Mr. Osawa, did you have to make a phone call? The study door had opened, and a stolid-faced man had appeared in the doorway. It was Yoshio Kajiwara, one of the detectives from the Shibuya precinct. A detective with Shibuya precinct's criminal investigation division. He's sociable but awkward, and despite his reserved personality, he can be quite unsettling. His colleagues at the precinct refer to him by nicknames such as Japanese Columbo and Little Ken Takakura, given his own quirky demeanor as a detective. He struck Osawa as a bit too soft-spoken and meek for a detective, really. And his treatment of the kidnapping case gave an impression of flighty detachment that made him seem rather undependable. Okej, czyli to, co się zmieniło, też nam od razu powiedzieli, ej, Kenji, twoja córka została porwana, o, dostanie pierdolca, ale teraz są jakieś inne newsy. Może tego, że już tam przyszli do identyfikowania tego typa, może dlatego, że na bieżąco byli skupieni na przestępcach, a nie na Hitomi. I don't really know. Ah, no, it's nothing important. Sawa drew his hand back from the phone. Have there been any developments, detective? Kajiwara shook his head apologetically. I'm sorry to bother you, but when you're finishing here, would you be so kind as to come to the living room? All right, Osawa said quietly. Yeah, I'll only be a little bit longer. Kajiwara nodded and departed. He took a nice, deep breath, and then he dialed up Makino. Has there been any progress? Makino asked as he picked up. His voice was somber. No, Osawa said. Nothing much yet. A tiny sigh came in from the other end of the line. I see. Then what can I do for you? Sir, I'll just get it right to the point. Have you conducted clinical trials using the antiviral drug? Makino didn't respond right away. Makino to był jakby dyrektor, taki big dyrektor tej firmy. What makes you think that? He asked at last. Sawa described the emails he'd received. When he'd finished, Makino let out his breath in surprise. Not over the phone, he said. We'll discuss this in person. I'll head over to your place when I'm done here. As soon as possible, sir. As soon as I can manage, Makino said. You're not the only person who's busy. With that, Makino hung up. There was no doubt about it then. There had been human testing. Osawa went to let Tanaka know he'd be meeting with Makino. Kajiwara stood in the hallway. He looked like he'd been waiting there the whole time for Osawa to come out of the study. Are you hungry? He asked. Here, I've got something that's good for when you're tired. Kajiwara then slipped a hand into his suit pocket. He pulled out a banana. Banana, a fruit belonging to the family Musaceae, genus Musa. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, was a huge lover of bananas, and the peanut butter and banana sandwich is said to have been his favorite. If a banana peel is dropped under even remotely comedic circumstances, there is a high chance that someone will eventually sleep on it. I'm fine, thanks, Osawa said. Kajiwara seemed to lack a detective's sense of situational awareness. Just being around him got on Osawa's nerves. Well, sir, I need you to come with me, the detective said. If you don't mind. He took Osawa by the arm. As Kajiwara hurried him toward the living room, Osawa could hear other detectives talking on the other side of the door. He's working at a time like this? Seriously? Sheesh, I do not get rich people and their priorities. Yeah, I feel bad for his daughter. Her dad's a real piece of work. Nice. They were bad-mouthing him in his own house. Oh, I'm really sorry about all that, Kajiwara said, pausing in embarrassment. Osawa pushed past him and opened the door. A number of police detectives had holed up in the living room. They went suddenly silent as Osawa entered. So, tell me, he said sarcastically, would you rather I stay here weeping as I watch this disaster unfold? The detectives winced and grimaced. Okej, bo teraz nam się udało przesłuchać całe piosenki Ai Kamiki. I jesteśmy na tyle wychillowani, że nie dostajemy pierdolca od wiadomości. Forgive me for not being a perfect father, he added, his hostility building. Kajiwara stepped forward to intervene before things go out of hand. Now, let's not be touchy. I am not being touchy, Osawa snapped. But he knew full well that he was. These guys had the time to sit around backbiting him, but not to go out and bring Maria to safety? Already close to half a day had gone by without any new developments. The ransom demand had come in the previous night at 8 o'clock. Maria had been abducted roughly an hour before. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., by Hachiko in Shibuya. Have the sister Hitami bring 50 million yen. If not, the girl's life is forfeit. The kidnapper called only once, so the police were unable to run a trace. I'll do it, Hitami said. Anything for my sister. She didn't hesitate in the slightest at the suggestion that she make the ransom handoff. Osawa was staunchly opposed to the idea, but the police were of the opinion that it was better to acquiesce to the kidnapper's demands. Ai's reaction, on the other hand, baffled nearly everyone. We don't have 50 million just lying around. Are the police going to be putting that together for us? Kajiwara stepped in to reassure her. If it comes down to it, the police will be able to help raise the money. Okay, go ahead then, do it. We need you to pay it back afterwards, though, of course. Well then, what's the point of that? Ai's voice spiked up to a piercing shriek. Calm down, Osawa told her. We're making a scene. Ai turned away in a huff. It's alright, detective, Osawa continued. I'll talk to the bank first thing tomorrow morning and figure something out. At that, I stormed out of the room. Kajiwara bowed his head several times in apology. As soon as Hitami has made contact, we'll apprehend the suspect and take things from there. What? Hold on. Won't that put Maria in danger? If we let the kidnapper get away with the money, we have no proof that he'll return the hostage safely afterwards. There was a certain logic there, Osawa had to concede. I see, he said. So you're saying that catching this guy will be easier for you if he keeps my daughter hostage? No, that's not what I was implying at all. Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his brow and bowed profusely. At least I promise we'll get your daughter back safe and sound, Mr. Osawa. Obviously, there was nothing to be gained from further challenging the detectives. Alright then. I'll let the police do their job. Osawa bowed even lower than Kajiwara had. How long are we going to just loaf around? Ai shrieked as she stormed into the room. Hurry up and arrest this guy. She was becoming increasingly hysterical. An hour had passed since the suspect had taken the money, and yet the police had made no effort to apprehend him. The police apparently had a rule against discussing an operation before it was fully resolved, and so the Osawas had been left in the dark. Okej, czyli dlatego nam nie powiedział, że porwali Hitami. Bo operacja trwa, więc są tight-lipped, a jak to spierdoliliśmy i tam, nie wiem, aresztowaliśmy Archiego albo coś takiego, to wtedy mogli nam powiedzieć. A to, że gdamy chłopaka, miejmy nadzieję, że wody na YouTubie, w razie czego, żeby nadgonić. Życzymy jego wieczorka. But they had overheard the task force talking over the wireless, and it appeared that they were deliberately letting the suspect roam free. Hey, I snapped again. If he gets away with our money, you are going to reimburse us, right? Sawa scowled. She made it sound like the money was more important than Maria's life. The detectives exchanged uneasy glances. Okej. Słuchajcie. Nasza żona trochę jędza, nie będę ukrywał. Czy mówimy jej jakby prawdę, czy jednak wystarczająco na głowie ma Kenji, który już jest na skraju załamania nerwowego? No, cała dupa sklei, tak, nie ma co tutaj, że tak powiem, stres mamy na głowie, niech tylko będzie właśnie jakaś kłótnia, coś, niech ona sobie pójdzie i możemy iść grać w grę. Soa said nothing. By now, he was accustomed to Ai's coldness toward the two girls. The twins were Osawa's daughters from his first wife, who had passed away 15 years ago. Ai had no blood ties to Maria or Hitomi herself. Well, Ai continued. A w ogóle to witam Teverego. To co przegapiłeś, to Tama dojechała do końca dnia. Generalnie tam na tej końcówce chyba nic kluczowego nie było. A u Kano kontynuowaliśmy śledztwo, gdzie absolutnie confirmed, że przestępcy się kręcą w kółko z tą walizką, chuj wie po co, in a very weird way. I zaczyna być mocna presja, żeby się z teściem zobaczyć. Już nam teść dał kosza. Teraz kończymy jeszcze tutaj Kenjiego, który jakby zdążył się wychillować od słuchania J-popu. Dostał banana od japońskiego Colombo. Tak tutaj było napisane, że jest japońskim Colombo i nie dostał załamania nerwowego, więc teraz gada z gliniarzami, a jego żona jest jego żoną bardzo. Well, I continued. Are the police going to reimburse us or not? She glared pointedly at Kajiwara. Well, right now we're focused on making sure Maria is safe. I stormed up to him, shouting right in his face. Stop dodging the question! Answer me! Yes, of course, Kajiwara squeaked. Maybe, would you like something to eat to help you calm down? He held out a banana. I smacked it right off his hand. Oh dear, what a waste. Kajiwara scrambled to retrieve the fruit from the floor. Spoko, jest jeszcze w skórce, to można podnieść. Osawa went over to Tanaka and whispered into his ear. I'm going to meet Mr. Makino. Tanaka nodded silently. Makino to był dyrektor tej Big Farmy. Powiedzieliśmy mu o Snowdenie. Turning, Osawa saw Kajiwara looking in their direction. I jeszcze policja zidentyfikowała pierwszego gaijina z gangu z Woli, jakiegoś tam arabskiego, w sumie nie terrorysta, ale jakiegoś gangstera międzynarodowego. Turning, Sawa saw Kajiwara looking in their direction. They made eye contact, but Sawa quickly looked away and strode out of the living room. Kajiwara followed after him. Excuse me, Mr. Osawa? Yes, what is it? The detective fussed sheepishly with his hair and forced a smile. Sir, we'd appreciate if you could remain in the living room as much as possible. Osawa was in no mood to stand on propriety. Look, I've got a ton of work to do, he said. Are you here to tell me to play the role of the grieving father too? No, not at all. Personally, I happen to think you're an admirable father, Mr. Osawa. Admirable? Did the word have a ring of sarcasm? He had no way to tell if Kajiwara was being forthright with him or not. You're no ordinary fellow, Mr. Osawa. You're a genius. A genius? Me? Osawa made a skeptical noise. Am I mistaken, sir? You've made very important strides in the field of virus research. Or well, so I've been told. Osawa wasn't sure how to respond. He had never considered himself a genius. He was just someone who was more interested in viruses than he was in other people. Everyone who's a genius is also a little bit odd, after all, Kajiwara went on. But probably he intended that as a compliment, but still. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with weirdos, so long as they leave us ordinary folks alone, you know? Is this guy trying to praise me? Or insult me? Sawa let out a heavy sigh. Genius? Weirdo? What did it even matter? So long as he could be left to his work, he didn't care one whit how he looked in other people's eyes. Kenji Osawa jest chyba mocno akustyczny, mam takie wrażenie. Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. By the way, what are you working on right now? He asked. I'm afraid you wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you, Osawa replied. Right, precisely. Even if I gave it my full attention, it would be still beyond me. He peered with sudden intensity at Osawa's face. I'd appreciate if you didn't hide things from me, sir, he said. Osawa gaped, at a loss for words. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kajiwara added hurriedly. Goodness, that made it sound like I'm accusing you of hiding something, didn't it? The detective bowed his head repeatedly. I hope you'll forgive me. He held out the banana. That won't be necessary. How about this then? This time, he pulled a bar of chocolate from his pocket. No, thank you. Did this guy just carry an endless food supply wherever he went? Oh my, Kajiwara murmured. You geniuses really are tough to sort out. He inclined his head, mumbling to himself for a moment. What can I get for you then, sir? What I'd really like is some time by myself. In a daze of exasperation, Osawa felt his way to his study. Locking the door, he finally let out the breath he'd been holding. Then his eyes alighted on the bookshelf against the wall. He pulled out the photo album and began to flip through it. There were pictures of his daughter's grade school enrollment ceremony. Their mother had already passed away from illness, so Osawa had taken the girls himself. He remembered that, after the ceremony, Hitami had come down with a fever. Hitami had been rather sickly as a girl, falling bedridden at the drop of a hat. Maria, by contrast, had been lively and energetic, quite the handful. Osawa had found it remarkable that their personalities could be so different, despite them being twins. He flipped further into the album. There was a picture of the three of them at their grade school graduation. Maria was looking away from the camera. Osawa felt like someone had stabbed a dagger in his heart. His daughters? Or virology? Which truly concerned him more? Which did he truly love? It was ridiculous to try to compare the two. He'd known the answer before he even asked himself. Even so, human emotions were complicated and sometimes made people act inconsistently. One of the consequences of that was this photo album. This was the last photo he had of Maria. He searched and searched through the rest of the album, but she was nowhere else to be found. A zdjęcia wirusów to pewnie kurwa ma sprzed tygodnia. Kenji, już ja cię znam. cóż, witamy w nowym rozdziale i mamy tu jakby na zupełnie świeże, że tak powiem, nowe rozdanie. Wszyscy, że tak powiem, goli i od 12 możemy ruszać. Jak widać, Kras 6 już jest tak zalokowany. Wszystko w jeden timeline. I tylko no, trzeba wybrać, którą postać chcemy pierwszą śledzić. Nie jestem zaskoczony. Tylko właśnie, Smigu, musisz sobie odpowiedzieć w serduszku na jedno ważne pytanie. Czy to jest tak naprawdę Tama Fan Club? Czy Misteria Nagashita Fan Club? Jeszcze pewnie myślisz, że Tama, ale... zobaczymy przed końcem gry. In 1 hour, the Burning Hammer sales demo will begin. Chiro is laying out the assortment of snacks that we'll have to hand on. Chiro is laying out the assortment of snacks that we'll have on hand. Hey Tama, you hungry? Why yes, yes I am. I mean, that should be pretty obvious at this point. All I've had since putting on this stupid mascot costume is some burning hammer and a bunch of iced tea. Hey now, Chiri shoots back. What's with the attitude? Chiri, you do remember that you ate my lunch, right? The sticker said it was best before noon. You just made that up? Yeah. Chiri chortles merrily and chucks some more iced tea. Okay, folks, Mr. Yanagishita calls out as he slips into the room. Lunch break's over. Back to work. I don't feel like I've had that much of a break. If anything, I'm even more mentally exhausted than I was before. There's a box full of Anagochi toys in the storeroom on the 3rd floor. Mind bringing those down? Anagochi? I ask. What's that? The name makes it sound like some sort of product knockoff. Mr. Yanagishita's face widens in surprise. You've never heard of them? You know, Anagochi. It's a digital pet game where you raise an eel that lives in Tokyo Bay. Anagochi. A portable electronic game in which you raise a conger eel, Anago, feeding it daily and clearing away feces. Depending on how you raise your eel, it can wind up developing into various forms, from normal eel to ultimate eel sushi. You can also use the infrared communication feature to bring over friends for your eel from another nearby Anagochi device. There is also a sister product, Trout Watch. By connecting the two, you can view a special event where the eel and trout characters go to a pub together. Never heard of it, I say. Huh, well, I guess maybe a lot of people in Japan haven't heard of it yet. But it's all the rage right now with youngsters over in New York City. New York City? Oh, NYC. Oh, he must mean New York City. It's popular in New York, really. Anyway, I did some quick checking and that's what I learned, so last month I bought a whole bunch of them. And once again you were swindled. Yep. Ouch. Chiri dropping the hard truth. Mr. Yanagishita lets out a pathetic whimper. No! Just like that, his confidence evaporates. He starts muttering to himself. I thought it sounded a little fishy, really. I mean, think about it. Why would kids in New York be interested in raising eels from Tokyo Bay? He muses. And what appeal would an eel character even have anyway? None! That's what! I should have known that. I did know it. Then why'd you buy them? This farce is getting tiresome. Anyway, Yanagashita continues. It was gonna cost way too much to keep them in storage, so I was just gonna let the recycling guy take them. He hangs his head in shame. In a matter of moments, he's borderline catatonic. Borderline catatonic. The type of eel that gives Anagochi its name, Anago, can be loosely translated as the creature that lives in a hole. Mr. Nagishita is probably wishing he could crawl into a hole right about now. Chiri, on the other hand, flashes a big, bright green. Still, you know, eel's pretty delicious. Oh, Chiri, Nagashita blurts. Thank you. He clasps her hands in gratitude. I wasn't exactly complimenting you there, boss. It's the same thing. There's a little bit of me in each of my products. Anagochi and I are one and the same. A brief Anagochi gameplay clip. The trick is to feed your eel proper food and give it proper exercise. Another important strategy tip is to make sure to obtain the sharp chef's knife when you visit Kapabashi Kitchen Town partway through the game. Deep Anagochi lore. Which is to say, eels and I are one and the same. Go on then, say something nice about eels. Chiri chimes in without missing a beat. Eels are awesome! When it comes to eel sushi, 100 pieces barely whets my appetite. You know, these two make quite a pair. That really means a lot to me, Chiri. Thank you, thank you. I don't understand what any of this is about, but if it helps mend Mr. Yanagishita's wounded spirits, I guess I can't complain. I leave them to their devices and head for the storeroom. The storeroom door opens with a rough, grating sound. Okay, now where's the light switch? I fumble around in the dark, feeling for the switch box. My costume paws mute the sensations in my hands enough that even finding that is difficult. I butt at the wall willy-nilly until eventually the lights come on. Apparently I found the switch, even if I didn't feel it. Whoa! What the heck is this? The storeroom's practically overflowing with shoddy goods. A painting that looks like a child's scribblings. An oddly shaped hat bearing the words, "Grow 2 inches, guaranteed." A cheap-looking pendant with a tag that says it's set with a miracle stone. Miracle stone. These stones are nothing more than simple glass beads that were purchased at 5,000 yen a piece. The seller claimed, normally these sell for 10,000 a pop, but if you buy 100 of them, I'll give you half off. At which the buyer declared, it really is a miracle, before joyfully agreeing to the purchase. The fact that someone like Yanagishita actually exists to buy these things up is also kind of a miracle. It's like, this is the knockoff boneyard where cheap products go to die. They break away from their pathetic herd, knowing their time has come, and end up in this graveyard of a storeroom. Let's see. Anagochi. I quickly spy the cardboard box I'm looking for. Then I catch sight of a dark silhouette out of the corner of my eye. Eek! I yelp. It's one of them. Black, flat, quick, long antenna. Often spotted in kitchens, especially Aldem's. Sometimes, somehow, their legs wind up in restaurant food. Ew. The size, the speed, the dark shape, it couldn't be anything else. It peers back at me from the shadow of the Anagochi box, the faint light catching the luster of its carapace. It looks ready to leap out at me at any moment. I need to act fast. I challenge it to single combat, or I snatch up the cardboard box and make a run for it. Słuchajcie, to jest całkiem spaszony karaluch. Na pewno karmiony tajemniczymi suplementami diety od pana Jana Gishity. Kto wie, jakie ma moce. Z jednej strony Tama jest w kostiumie, który ogranicza jej możliwości ruchowe. Z drugiej strony profesjonalnie rzuciła Jana Gishito o ziemię, więc może ma szansę przeciwko karaluchowi. A może nie. Okej. Smiglew czuje się odważny. Więc spróbujmy. I challenge it to single combat. It flitters aloft. It's gunning for me, alright. Bracing myself, I step forward to confront it, which paradoxically helps calm my nerves. I get the sneaking suspicion that this isn't the first time I've done battle with one of these things. It's like I've trained myself to protect someone who's even more scared of them than I am. As I mull it over, the thing hovering in the air presses its attack against me. Now's my chance. I snatch up a nearby piece of cardboard and swat at the creature hard. It sails out of the window in a graceful arc and flitters away into the world beyond. Phew! At least we parted on mutually acceptable terms. I didn't have to squash it or blast it with pesticide. Hefting the box labeled Anagochi, I scurry away from the graveyard of schlock merchandise. Na razie Tama ma undefeated record w walce. Phew, I made it. When I get back to the break room, Mr. Yanagishita is still clutching Chiri's hands. An eel super tasty when you salt broil it too. Oh, thank you. But tempura style is probably the best. Oh, thank you. Well, Mr. Yanagishita's spirits have certainly turned around. Okay, got it. I hold out the big cardboard box. Excellent, thank you. You girls are the greatest, Yanagishita shouts. His voice resounds with gratitude. Hey, that's it. I just got an amazing idea. Why don't the three of us start our own company? I pass. Chira and I respond in unison. Man, you two shot that one quick. Ah well. For today, let's just focus on selling Burning Hammer. By the way, I ask, where is the Burning Hammer? There wasn't any in the storeroom, and I don't see any here either. Oh, that's right. It's out back on the loading dock. We should probably go bring it in. Oh, and bring the Anagochis with you too. The recycling guy is gonna be showing up soon. Come on, let's go. Chiro and I follow Mr. Yanagishita out to the loading dock. But the loading dock, it turns out, is empty. There's no sign of the Burning Hammer anywhere. It's gone, Mr. Yanagishita murmurs. Then his voice rises to a shout. It's gone! All gone! The Burning Hammer! It's all gone! Flying into a panic, he searches frantically from one end of the dock to the other, leaping into the air, even peering down into the cracks. But no matter where he looks, there's nothing for him to find. It was right here a little while ago, like right here, right here! I hear the sound of an engine revving outside. Mr. Yanagishita cries out in alarm. You can see a truck starting to pull away. Its belly is piled high with cardboard boxes and other assorted trash. Hey boss, is that... Yes, there it is. Mr. Nagashita begins racing after the truck. My burning hammer! His voice cracks as he cries out, Give it back! Give it back! But he's no match for a speeding truck, and the boxes of burning hammer vanish before his eyes. Burning hammer! Come back! Come back! Yanagishita's wailing echoes from the surrounding buildings. It's like something out of a movie. What the hell? What's up with that truck? Tama! What the heck was that? Hey, don't look at me, I reply. Huh. With all those piles of stuff, it looked just like the recycling guy. As soon as he says it, revelation dawns on his face. The recycling guy? He mutters. I can see the color draining from his face. The words, recycling guy, give me an idea. If it was him, maybe he thought he was picking up the Anagotchis by mistake. We have to find it! O, Burning Hammer, Freedom Force. Oj, czuję to. Dobry shitty superhero gimmick. We have to find it. We have to find that truck. The man is absolutely beside himself. Chiri, Tama. Mr. Nagashita, to jakbyś... To nie Freedom Force, ale w takim tradycyjnym RPG-u... Nagashita Run robisz w Arcanum. Maksujesz charyzmę, 0 użytecznych statów i tylko gierasz gigantyczne party i jeszcze trochę alchemii robisz, żeby robić dziwne miksturki. Bang, Yanagishita build. Chiri, Tama, you two split up and try to track it down. Wait, do we have to look for it? Again, Chiri and I speak in chorus. If there's no sales demo, there's no money to pay you. And then all the work you've done will be for nothing. Right. When he puts it that way, I guess there isn't much of a choice. Somehow or another, you'll have to find that truck. It can't have gotten far, he continues. Now go hunt for it like your life depends on it. Chiri and I look at each other and sigh. How do you want to do this? She asks. Want to search together? Or should we split up? Actually, dobre taktyczne pytanie. Jeśli rozdzielamy i jednak 2 razy większy coverage na mieście, czy trzymamy się razem, bo z pomocą Chiri mamy 3 razy więcej mocy, a wiadomo, że i tak my musimy trafić na właściwe miejsce mocy protagonisty. No, jak wiadomo, Chiri, najlepszy assisting charakter. Lepszego supporta nie możemy sobie wymarzyć, więc... Let's go together. And so, Chiri and I head out in search of the truck. As we make our way down Center Gai, peering in all directions, I accidentally bump right into a man who was out with his daughter. Oh! Pardon me. I hop back to my feet and go to bow to the man in an apology. Ow! He bows at the same time, and we manage to bonk our heads together. Sorry. As her dad drops to his knees, clutching his head, the girl begins to wander off. Hannah, wait! The man lurches to his feet and rushes after the girl. She seems like an odd kid. Only 10 or so, but strangely cold and distant for her age. As we make our way down the road, Chiri's eyes light up on a cafe. Man, I am super hungry, she mutters. Not now, we have to find that truck. Yeah, I know. Obczajcie drip tej losowej łapeczki po samej prawej. I stride purposefully along, and though Chiri flashes the eatery a long, lingering look, she falls into step behind me. O! Chyba tym wyborem uratowaliśmy Chiri przed samą sobą. Chiri and I wander around town for another 10 minutes or so. We don't see any sign of the truck though. Ah, I sigh. It really is good and gone, huh? I turn to look back at Chiri. Huh? Wait, what? Chiri's gone. She must have slipped away from me at some point. I take a quick look around, but there's no sign of her. When did she split off? She was just there 2 or 3 minutes ago. It's noon 35. The sales demo starts in 25 minutes. What do? I don't have time to go looking for Chiri. I guess I'll have to keep searching for the truck by myself then. But I have no clues to go on, so I don't know how I'm ever going to find it. What should I do? Okay, keep out na linii policyjnej. Wydaje mi się, tak z tego co już pamiętam, to że oba nasze wybory chyba nawet były poprawne, więc tym bardziej nie ma co ich sprawdzać. A lepiej zobaczyć, co jest u innych osób. Mieliśmy chyba hinta jakiegoś crossoveru z Minorikałą, bo szef redakcji zbampował w tamę. Całe śledztwo i Hitomi wiadomo, co się dzieje. Okej, Achiendo, Real Yakuza Peak. Zobaczmy co u najlepszego chłopaka. Achi and Hitomi scampered through the back roads along Center Gai, white sneakers and pumps slapping on the pavement. Achi kept his eyes peeled, continually checking ahead and behind as they darted through the gaps between the buildings. Finally, they stopped in a narrow alley. "There's no way he'll find us here," he said. "No one knows about this place." He took another look around, then let out a sigh of relief. It seemed they'd managed to shake the gunman for now. Back when Achi was with SOS, he had come through Center Gai practically every day. Czy my jesteśmy na tym, wiecie, sekretnym zaułku z Yakuzy Zero, który się wszystkie mafie biły? Bo tak trochę to sekretne miejsce wygląda. SOS. The abbreviation for Studs of Shibuya. The name given to the group by Achi when he founded it. Originally, just a bunch of like-minded young people hanging out together. It has since become known as a gang that picks fights around Shibuya. The gang had started out as little more than a group of local teens. They didn't do much in particular, just horsing around and killing time. What mattered was that they were having fun. But it wasn't long before it wasn't all fun and games. Achi couldn't help but notice the slop score, making a mess of Shibuya, dirtying all up. He wasn't about to let them get away with it. Most frequently, it was folks who tossed cigarette butts out on the street or plastered walls in graffiti. When they didn't respond to his more gentle warnings, he found slightly more forceful ways of getting his point across. SOS got a reputation. Street punk started trying to pick fights with its members. Those guys required a bit more force to handle. And when it came to the worst of the lot, the drug dealers, the muggers, the guys who tried to force themselves on the women, It was full-on battle, no holds barred. Before long, SOS had established itself as something of a vigilante corps. Soon, it became known as one of the biggest gangs in Shibuya. Let's lay low here for a bit and see what happens, Achi said. The alley where they hid was like a dimly lit chasm, obscuring them from view. The only problem now was figuring out what to do next. They needed to find that blue van again. Which meant figuring out the best way to get back to Dogenzaka without the man with the cane catching them once more. Achi? Hitami whispered. I think I can handle myself from here. She got to her feet and gave Achi a deep bow. Whoa! Achi held up a hand. We've been over this already. You're not gonna be okay. That guy has a gun. If he let her go up against the assassin alone, he might as well be the one to pull the trigger himself. Thank you so much for everything you've done for me, Hitami continued as if she hadn't heard him. She started to shuffle out of the alleyway. Hey, what did I just say? Really, Achi, I appreciate your concern. But I can't in good conscience put you in danger anymore. But I mean... Achi tried to press the point, but Hitami cut him off. There's no good reason for you to risk yourself to keep helping me. Her tone was resolute. Nie, no nie ma wyboru. Achi nie da sobie dać kosza. Executive decision. Still. Nie, po prostu nie. On jest za bardzo dżentelmenem. Still. Achi was determined to help her anyway. He refused to back down. Odmówić to mógłby jej ojciec, ale kurde nie Achi. Look, I want to help people who are in trouble. What's so wrong about that? Huh? He locked eyes with Hitami, willing her to understand. I'm not the most dependable guy, I know that. But still, Hitami dropped her gaze, and Achi trailed off, feeling like an idiot. Oh, it's no use. I'm no use. He hung his head with a sigh. Just then, a bit of light shone into the alleyway from above. It looks like someone... Odblokowaliśmy dalszy ciąg tamy może? On the adjacent building's upper floor had turned on the lights. Building. The Nokane building. This multi-tenant building has 7 floors, but a decade-old urban legend tells of a mysterious 13th floor. A Diet Aid sales demo is being held on one of the upper floors today. The light illuminated Hitomi's face. When Achi saw the look in her eyes, he reconsidered his decision. She was trying her hardest to hide it, but she was clearly terrified. In no way was she letting her go back out there alone. Still, if he tried to insist, she would only refuse him again. Hitami? Humor me for a second here. Tell me, what's the proper way to dispose of a plastic bottle? Smooth. She stared at him in surprise. Well, first you remove the cap and the wrapper. Then you rinse out the inside and crush it. Achi let out the breath he'd been holding. Okay, good. Huh? I don't understand. What's good? You gave me my reason why I have to help you out. I super respect people who respect the environment. I'm one of those whatchamacallits. An environmentalist. Achi pointed at his mean clean t-shirt. Hitami hesitated. And what was your plan if I'd said the answer was to toss the plastic in with the trash? Well, then I'd need to stick with you to help teach you. Environmental awareness begins with good education. So then you're going to tag along with me regardless. Look, I'm just super pumped to learn that you care so much about proper recycling. Achi cracked a huge grin. Okay then. Okay? If you're really that sure about it, I guess I could use your help a little while longer. Hitomi flashed him a little smile. Man, she's so cute, Achi thought. Then something else caught his eye. Huh? What's that there? It looked like something black was stuck to the top of her head. Achi, what are you staring at? You've got something stuck there. What, on my head? Without thinking, Hitomi reached up and plucked it off. It was about 10 centimeters long, its body a glistening black, sporting fillers and several pairs of legs. It began to writhe and wriggle between Hitomi's slender fingers. Gah! Achi yelped. It's a cockroach! He jumped backwards, but Hitomi didn't so much as flinch. Ah, phew, sorry. That gave me a bit of a start, he continued. I guess it must have fallen from one of the windows up there. Still, Hitomi did not move. Hitomi? She didn't appear to hear him. Hello? Hitomi? With my muffled gargle, Hitomi passed out on the spot, her body as stiff as a mannequin. What? Hitomi, are you okay? Hitomi! 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 But no matter how loudly Achi called her name, Hitomi would not come to. Obawiam się, że to jest Aldem ending. From that day onward, Echi devoted even more of his time and energy to collecting trash. It became his personal passion to see that his city was a clean one, devoid of cockroaches. That was the mandate he had been handed, or, if nothing else, his atonement. Stary, to jest karaluch karmiony od dzieciństwa na Burning Hammerze. Mówiłem, że to jest twardy skurwysyn. No ale w zaistniałych okolicznościach wydaje mi się, że nie ma co głosować, bo wiadomo, że idziemy do Tamy, gdzie jednocześnie ratujemy szansę Achiego, żeby zaliczyć, a po drugie dostaniemy od Achiego keep out, żeby iść dalej z Tamą. I need to act fast. I snatch up the cardboard box and make a run for it. I tutaj timeline chyba wraca jakby od razu do standardowego time charta. Yep. I Achi nie był blokowany, ale najpierw wiadomo dociśniemy Tamę. Okej, czyli ten jump był fake-outem. On nas po prostu jumpował do tego momentu, gdzie już dalej poszliśmy. No to był fake out. Ale po naprawieniu karalucha możemy jakby kontynuować Achiego. Czyli potrzebujemy dla Tamy jumpa jakby dalej w czasie, żeby się zgadzało. Z momentem. Czy możemy to skipnąć? Możemy. If you're really that sure about it, I guess I could use your help a little while longer. Hitomi flashed him a little smile. Man, she's so cute without cockroaches, Achi thought. Sneaking out from the alley, Achi and Hitomi began to make their way along the side streets, back towards Dogenzaka. It was a pretty big detour compared to taking the main thoroughfares, but that would be worth it if it meant they avoided the man with the cane. Achi looked over at Hitomi as she walked alongside him. Her face was solemn. He could feel the intensity of her worry for her sister. Oh, well, look who's got himself a little cutie. The sudden call startled him. He spun around. Yo, Winkling! Over here! Achi spotted a young man up ahead, sneering at him. At his side were two others. Achi recognized the lot. SOS. Hitomi let out a nervous squeak. Achi? Don't worry about them. He led her onward, attempting to stride right past the trio. Whoa, hey now, you just gonna ignore me? That's pretty damn rude, especially coming from someone who used to be an old buddy. The three toughs moved to bar Achi's path. Oh, she's hella fine. Come on, ain't you gonna introduce us? Hella fine. Extremely attractive. The etymology of hella is somewhat unclear, but its meaning is undisputed. Very, a lot of, totally, and the like. Potential synonyms for hella fine include mighty fine, fine as hell, and banging. Sorry, man, Achi said. I'm in a bit of a hurry here. He gave them a tepid smile. Big hurry, huh? Where to? Some love hotel in Maruyamacho? Too rich, another chimed in. She a screamer, Achi? Aha, Achi! Take a stereotypical way to poke fun at a would-be amorous couple. Now take Achi's name? There you go. They burst out howling like a gang of monkeys. One of them cackled like a grinning idiot. Ah, Hachi! Ah, Hachi! Hachi! Hachi felt his anger boil. Słuchajcie. Ja wiem, że im wpierdolimy. Ale może jednak wiemy wyższą drogę. Kiedyś byli naszymi kumplami. Czy... Wiecie, jak ich pokonamy, to będziemy wyglądali cool i może zaliczymy. A jak nas pobiją, to będziemy wyglądali extremely uncool i może nie zaliczymy. Ale no też chyba się zgadzam. Nawet chyba tutaj szczerze mówiąc sam zagłosuję, o proszę, bo no jednak Yakuza gameplay, no to trzeba to exp grindować. These guys were in sore need of a major ass kicking. Achi stepped out of the ringleader. The tough dropped to the ground with a dull thud. Oh, sorry. That was terribly rude of me. Achi kept his tone light tone light and jovial, but he eyed the others like a hawk eyeing its prey. Is he going to be alright? Hitami murmured. He looked at the man Achi had led out with some concern. He'll be fine. That's all it took to knock him out. He's got no right to act all badass. Achi, huh? I don't believe I've had the pleasure. O kurwa, teraz jest boss fight. Ma nawet swój własny theme and shit. A taller man with an angry gleam in his eyes had appeared atop the steps nearby. He must have turned up during the commotion. He radiated a distinct aura of menace. That's me, Achi replied. And just who are you? For once, it was someone he didn't recognize. The name's Yoji Kiryu. He used to roll with a gang from Ikebukuro until a few months ago. Known as the killer whale of Bukuro, he answered any and all resistance with his fists. His crazy antics led to him being kicked out of the gang, however, and lately he's been hanging around Shibuya. Słuchajcie, Kiryu-chan, the killer whale of Bukuro. Możemy mieć kłopoty. I joined up with SOS after you left. Now I'm Susumu's number 2 guy. The newcomer stared at Achi's face, sizing him up. A legendary founder. I've heard so much about you. The founder. It had been a long time since anyone had called him that. There'd been a bunch of arguing over who would take charge of the new group that was forming to set things straight in Shibuya. At some point, folks had started hailing him as the force behind SOS. The founder. That was just something his buddies called him. He had never paid it much heed. Shibuya was a place for fun, not hierarchies. At least in Machi's mind, that was how it ought to be. Like how you busted up some mean old drug dealers, rescued your pals from Yakuza bondage. Here, bondage is used strictly in the sense of captivity. Any other types of Yakuza bondage will not be featured in this game. Sorry if the tip link here got your hopes up. You're a real hero. Kiryu's tongue flicked from his mouth like a snake's. Hitomi shuddered. Achi couldn't blame her for being creeped out. But that's all in the past now, isn't it? Kiryu continued. You went modestly on your way. It's up to us now. And we've helped SOS grow by leaps and bounds to help carry on your legacy, no matter who stands in our way. That thought didn't sit right with Achi. If aggressive expansion was the name of the game, the gang was losing touch with its roots. It wasn't about keeping Shibuya safe and fun anymore. Make SOS bigger, huh? He said. I'm guessing that was Susumu's call as well. Kiryu didn't answer his question. His mouth merely twisted into a knowing sneer. In any event, I think these boys here need a little lesson in manners. The guillotine ought to do the trick. Oh, essence of guillotine? A capital punishment device invented in 18th century France. The condemned executed by decapitation, by means of a heavy blade that descends from above. Named for physician Joseph Ignace Guillotin, who advocated its use to the National Assembly. Both King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were executed by guillotine. The other gang members started in alarm. Whoa, just calm down, man. Please, anything but the guillotine. Kiryu pointedly ignored their pleas. Oh, hey, what's the guillotine? Achi asked. Kiryu smirked. The guillotine is the guillotine. With me, worms. Without a glance back, Kiryu strolled away. His 2 underlings followed him unhappily. Achi wondered what lay in store for them, but right now He had more important things to worry about. Come on, let's go. He took Hitomi by the hand, and they were back on their way. No, ale Kiryu na back będzie jakby boss fightem, jakby zbyt potężny setup. Oh! Hitomi perked up. That's me. She reached into her pocket and took out her cell phone. Huh? She stared on the screen with consternation. What is it? Achi asked. It's an email. O, przepraszam za dziwny dźwięk. From Mr. Tanaka. Tanaka to był ten przydupas ojca. Who's Mr. Tanaka? He works with my father. I'm not sure what I should do. Achi remembered that the criminal had warned her against contacting her family or the police. She seemed reluctant to even open this message. I'm sure it's fine to just read an email, he said. And besides, he's not the police and he's not your family. Yeah, you're right. Hitomi scanned the message anxiously. It sounds like he's worried about me, she said. And does he know? About the kidnapping? Yes, I know my father trusts him. And he's always been so... Hitomi cut herself short. Still, it was clear to Achi that she and this Tanaka person had some sort of close relationship. I wonder if it's safe for me to let him know what the situation is. I think it should be, Achi told her. I mean, the kidnappers aren't gonna know you sent an email, right? Hitomi began typing out a response. Achi watched over her, wild speculations running through his mind. There was no way a mild-mannered young lady like her could be dating one of her father's coworkers! Jupi! Zblokowaliśmy dalej Genjiego Osałę! To, czego wszyscy chcą! Unless she was all about finding herself a sugar daddy. No, he was being ridiculous. Achi banished the thought from his mind. Besides, Hitomi's personal life wasn't the problem right now. The problem was that psycho with the cane and the gun. Is something wrong? Hitomi asked. She'd finished sending her email. Oh no, nothing. Nothing at all. Achi did his best to look nonchalant. It was a good thing she couldn't read his mind. They exited Center Gai and resumed their approach toward Dogenzaka by way of Maruyamacha. There are many hotels in Marumayacha. These are not ordinary establishments, but rather the sort of hotel where two people who are so inclined might... Redacted. A couple heading to this kind of place in the early afternoon would, without a doubt, be assumed to be bent on... Redacted. You might be wondering whether an option for these two to get up to mischief will appear as a selection prompt. Well, don't get your hopes up. This isn't that kind of game. Another long detour to decrease their odds of running into the gunman. They made an unlikely pair. Scruffy Achi, limbs lackadaisically swinging to hide his embarrassment, and brisk, purposeful Hitomi. Achi found himself watching her out of the corner of his eye. He could still feel her anxiety. He wished there was some way he could ease her fears. Hey, Hitomi, mind if I ask you something? Huh? Sure, go ahead. Okay, so like, I realize this might be a kind of a weird question, but he put on a serious face. What does the echo in eco-friendly mean? Huh? Like, I know it's about helping the earth and all, but I don't know what it really means, you know? Hitomi thought for a moment. I'm pretty sure it's short for the English word ecology, which is the science of examining the relationship between man and nature. ecology, a subset of biology that deals with the reciprocal relationships between organisms and their environment. Nowadays, the term can also refer to cultural and social effects on the global environment. The latter usage can be broad and imprecise, making the exact meaning somewhat difficult to define. Right, science. Pleased with himself, Achi chattered on excitedly. A faint smile crept back on Hitomi's face. Say, you ever hear about the clean river here in Shibuya? A clean river? In Shibuya? Really? Ask 100 youngsters outside of Shibuya Station the same question, and you'd probably get that same answer 100 times. Yeah, the Shibuya River. You know, that drainage channel we saw earlier. Wait, that? That's the clean river you're talking about? By no reasonable definition was the Shibuya River what anyone would call clean. That's the one! Achi grinned at her in confusion. See, the river used to be clean a long time ago. I read about it in this old book called Science Strikes Back. A popular monthly magazine, abbreviated SSB. The series has been running for 29 years now, but the Strike Back appendix is still immensely popular with children. The woman who handles the home deliveries is known as the SSB Lady, and children wait excitedly on the 25th of each month for her to make her runs. Czy to jest dosłownie japoński Kaczor Donald? I used to have that book. Hitomi chirped, her eyes wide with excitement. You're talking about that beat with the river that got turned into a song, right? Whew. The famous 1912 song Haru no Ogawa, The Spring Brook, with lyrics by Tatsuyuki Takano and music by Teiichi Okano. It is said that the song was inspired by the view of the upper course of the Shibuya River during Takano's childhood. In the modern day, there is a stone monument bearing the song's lyrics along the Odaku line between Yoyogi Hachiman and Sangubashi. Yeah, that's the one. You read it too? I did. Achi felt a giddy rush at this unexpected connection they shared. Imagine if there was still a clean, beautiful river hidden in Shibuya. It would be the perfect place for taking a romantic stroll. Hitomi looked up at Achi. She seemed to share his joy in this idea. Huh, wouldn't it be amazing if that dirty little channel could be clean like it used to be? It would. Maybe as amazing as the look on Hitomi's face right now, Achi thought. Hitomi, tell me some more ecology stuff. Hit me with whatever you've got. She seemed happy to oblige, and so as they walked along, Hitomi explained the bits of knowledge she'd picked up over the years. Achi was quiet, hanging on her every word. The return to Dogenzaka became an impromptu environmentalism lecture. Hitomi continued until she exhausted her ready knowledge. I just don't get it, Achi grumbled when she paused at last. I mean, why is it a bad thing if the planet gets warmer? Wouldn't that make winter in places like Hokkaido way easier? No, you see, because if the whole planet gets warmer, it'll cause the whole ecosystem to collapse. Achi racked his brain. And the ecosystem is, what again? Is it like a solar system? Images of the cosmos filled his imagination. No, not really, Hitomi said. So, is it more like a sound system then? Not really. Oh, but anyway, you're saying the problem is with the... what was it again? Carbon dioxide. Yeah, that stuff. I'm going to have to cut down on that. Sure. That settles it, Achi declared proudly. No more soda for me. Soda? Yeah, it's carbonated, right? Hitomi burst out laughing. What? I'm serious. You don't think I can do it? I'm sorry. Hitomi said, catching her breath. It's just... Her face froze, her mirth abruptly vanishing. Oh no. Huh? Achi stared at her face in alarm. What is it? He turned his attention in the direction Hitomi was looking. The man with the cane was bearing down on them. Oh, come on, you've got to be kidding me. Ja tylko powiem w ramach teasera, że gra acknowledge'uje to, że typ z lasku na nich ciągle wpada. To nie jest kompletne anime. Tylko zwrócę uwagę, że ani Achi, ani Hitomi nie są posiadaczami największego IQ w tej grze wideo. He grabbed Hitomi's hand and ran. This time, he headed for the main road, hoping to get lost in the crowd. Hitomi struggled to keep up. She was exhausted after all the early running. You can do it, he told her. The guy's got a cane. You can outrun him. The assassin was still hurrying after them. Once we get around the next corner, we'll be out on the main road. Yeah, okay. She's trying to get the words out. A widzisz, Smigla, a co jeśli Lopsu podąża jedyną trasą w całej Shibui, gdzie ulica jest czysta? Bit by bit, her feet were slowing down. It was under 50 meters or so to the main road. Achi realized that they might get caught before they got there. Sorry, Hitomi, he exclaimed, but I gotta do this. He scooped her up in his arms. Beep! By the time the squeak had escaped her mouth, Achi was already running full out. Achi? Please put me down? Don't worry, you're super light. Achi glanced back and saw the assassin, now far behind, break off his pursuit. But just as they rounded the corner, he heard the man call out to him. Achi almost stopped on reflex. Hold on, did he just shout my name? How the heck does he know my name? Quaking with unease, Achi slipped into the crowd. Achi? Could you please set me down now? A meek voice pulled him from his panic. Huh? He looked down at the girl in his arms. People in the crowd all around them were watching and chuckling. I mean, I'm really happy you saved me and all, but being carried around like this is, Hitomi was blushing beet red. But Achi's expression had gone pale. Achi, wait. Had he really heard that right? That's what it had sounded like. He set Hitomi back on her feet, then used his shirt sleeve to wipe the sweat from his face. You okay? Hitomi asked. When we were running just now, did the guy say anything? Not that I heard, no. Huh. Had he just imagined it then? Maybe. Achi was sure he didn't recognize the man. There's something weird about that guy, though, Hitomi murmured. She furrowed her brow. No matter where we run, he keeps catching up to us. It's almost like he knows where we're going. She was right. Finding a particular pair of people in a place as big as Shibuya bordered on the impossible. And yet, somehow, the assassin had tracked them down several times now. Yeah, Archie said. It's like he's got some way of locating us or something. He got a sudden idea. That's it. What if they're doing the whole tracking thing, but like, backwards? What? Hitomi's eyes widened. Okay, so you know how in police shows they always stick a tracking device in the bag with the ransom money? Like that, but backwards. Okay, so backwards isn't the right way to describe this, but Archie doesn't realize that. He does seem to know what tracking device it's, at least. A radio transmitter that can be located by the signal it emits. The Japanese police sometimes refers to this as a beeper, not to be confused with the English slang term beeper, meaning a pager. Backwards? Yeah, like, instead of putting the tracker on the money, they put it on you. Hitomi frowned. O, Smiglev jednak dzieli tą samą komórkę mózgową z Achim. Ja wiem, jak to się ostatni raz skończyło, ale... mamy nieskończoną ilość timeline'ów na szczęście. I don't see how I could possibly have a tracker on me, she said. I mean, I'm just wearing my clothes from home. Oh, huh? Well then how is he doing it then? Barely a moment passed from the moment he got the words out of his mouth. Once again, the man with the cane stepped out on the road ahead of them. It really did seem as he'd known exactly where they were going to be. How the hell is this happening? Achi groaned. He reached for Hitomi's waist, ready to pick her up again. It's okay, I can run by myself. Achi took her by the hand instead, and they raced into another alley. This guy just will not give up. At the far end of the alley, he could see a forklift parked beside a pile of cardboard boxes. Achi decided to... Okej, czy jak w każdym budżetowym B-filmie rzucamy kartonowymi... ścianą kartonowych pudeł, bo wiadomo, najtańsza dekoracja, czy wchodzimy w tryb Shenmue i Battle Forklift moment? Okej, forklifty nie są zbyt szybkie. On the other hand, typ jest... chodzi o lasce, więc też nie jest zbyt szybki. I mean, jakby zobaczę, oglądanie śmiesznych bad endingów też jest jakby częścią kontentu, jakby to... Nic nie kosztuje. No to lecimy. A teraz Jokesen, jak się okaże, forklift był właściwym rozwiązaniem. Hop in the forklift and drive it at the assassin. This ends now. Archie leapt into the forklift and hit the ignition. The engine roared to life. O nie! To jest forklift pełen butelek Burning Hammera! He lowered the forks and stepped onto the accelerator, picking up a pallet of cardboard boxes as he charged toward the man with the cane. The tower of boxes struck the man with a thud. Archie kept accelerating, driving him back a good 10 meters or so. The gunman let out a low grunt at the impact. Archie then hit the brake, shifted back into the reverse, and hit the gas again, backing up as fast as he could. Kiryu nigdy by nie zabił człowieka. Ale to Archie, a nie Kiryu. The boxes crashed down in a heap, burying the assassin underneath. Several small bottles spilled from the broken cardboard and shattered on the pavement. Hey, what the hell are you doing? O nie, tyle śmieci stworzyliśmy. I to jeszcze należące do Paliana Gashity. A middle-aged man in a sanitation uniform had come running at the sound of the forklift. Sorry man, gotta run! Archie exclaimed as he jumped from the vehicle. And don't forget to recycle that glass! He took Hitami's hand and sprinted away down the alleyway. The sanitation worker glowered after him, then turned and gazed despondently at the jumbled pile of boxes and broken glass. No teraz Assassin, wiecie, super villain origin story. Jak Obelix wpadł do kotła z Burning Hammerem i cały cię spalony wróci jako Burning Hammer the villain z mocami. Widzieliśmy, że Burning Hammer daje zawaru do mocy, jak wypijesz malutką butelkę na pusty żołądek, a 7 pudeł, no to daj spokój. The rugged breathing echoed through the maze of side streets. All that work just to wind up fleeing for their lives again. Archie ground his teeth in frustration. There are two main types of teeth grinding. The subconscious act of gritting one's teeth together while asleep, or gritting one's teeth together as a response to anger or frustration. Here we have an example of two. At roughly this same time, Minoru Minorikawa is grinding his teeth while trying to keep to his schedule. Huh. Hitomi, he groaned when they slowed down to catch their breath at last. I'm so sorry. Hitomi was nonplussed. Sorry? Whatever for? I keep saying how I'm going to help you, but instead I just keep putting you in danger. Archie, no. If you hadn't been with me, I'm sure I'd already be... No! Archie hurried to cut her off before she could finish. Don't go there, please. He sighed, then spoke again more quietly. I just want to help you. Clenching a fist, he looked up at the sky. A tiny sliver of blue was visible through the narrow gap between the buildings. Hitomi hung her head. Honestly, I can hardly believe how much you've done for me. I do appreciate it, but still. The lengths you've gone to. Archie looked at his feet, then drew himself up. Well, I admit it's not just because of some gut instinct or your love for the environment, he said. There's another reason I'm doing this. There is? Archie paused, searching for the right words. I've got a little sister. Her name's Suzune. She's cute and smart. Kind of the exact opposite of me, you know? His voice took on an uncharacteristic solemnity. But she's got a weak heart, so she's in the hospital. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But what does that have to do with wanting to help me? Back when Suzune was first admitted, I'd go and visit her every day. But she... Archie, you don't need to come visit me every day, you know? The quiet hospital room made Suzune's voice sound all the more frail. What are you talking about? Archie said. You know I'm worried about you. I'll be fine on my own, really. Archie had heard that line before. The more she insisted she was fine, though, the more reluctant he was to leave her. Besides, aren't you the amazing guy who helps hold Shibuya together? They need you out there. Archie didn't know how to respond to that. Much as it was flattering to think he played some important role, he was really just hanging out and goofing off with his pals. It certainly wasn't anything for his sister to be proud of. I'd rather you spend your energy helping people who need it more than me. What do you mean? People who need the help more? Who could possibly need help right now more than you? Archie scratched his head in confusion, and his sister gave him a weak, tiny smile. You'll figure it out, she said. I'm sure they'll find you soon enough. But I'm gonna be here with you. I'll be fine. Suzune's face was pale, but her tone was firm. My big brother is gonna be out there, doing his best to help people. That's what makes me happy. That's what keeps me going. Her voice was clear and unwavering, as if to head off his rebuttal. All right, Archie said with a reluctant sigh. So then I guess like, I'll just go out there and help people who are in trouble? Satisfied, Suzune smiled. Thank you. And can you promise me one more thing? Of course. Anything you like. He thumped himself on the chest. If you're going to help someone, make sure you see it all the way through to the end, okay? Okay. No calling it quits partway through, yeah? You got it. I just worry, Suzune said. I know you have a tendency to lose interest in things. Look, don't sweat it. I swear I won't give up on this. Achi stuck out his pinky finger. But I want you to promise me something in return. Promise me you won't let this thing beat you. Suzune hooked her little finger around her brother's, her sad smile fragile as glass. And so there you have it, Achi said. Kind of a rubbish story, I know. Not very funny. So your sister's heart condition. It's pretty bad? Achi nodded. You know, she called me amazing. There's nothing amazing about me. Suzune? She's the amazing one. She's been in the hospital so long, in so much pain, but she never complains. All I do is hang out and goof off with my friends. He gave a shrug. But I just keep thinking about how happy she'd be if I really did help people. It had turned out that finding people in need hadn't been all that simple. The only helpful thing Achi had been able to think of was going around picking up trash. And that's why Suzune's idiot brother left SOS to be Shibuya's garbage man. Did your friends know? Hitami asked. About your sister? I didn't tell them. I didn't want to pin this all on her being sick. Ah, I see. At least now Hitomi understood what the fight with the local toughs had been about. The sound of approaching footsteps jerked them back into the present. The man with the cane appeared at the end of the alley. He raised his gun. There was no time to flee. Achi quickly stepped in front of Hitomi. If you shoot us here, people are going to come running, he said. I'm guessing you don't want to get pegged for murder. The assassin didn't flinch. Stay out of my way, Achi. This time, there was no doubt. The gunman had spoken Achi's name loud and clear. How do you know who I am? The man stared at him through the sights of his gun. She has to die, Achi. It's for your own good. What? What does he mean? Hitami whispered. Achi, what is he talking about? Achi's mind was a whirl. Things were coming at him too fast for him to process. I don't know this guy. Hitami, please, you have to believe me. But... Hitami took a doubtful step away from Achi. The assassin didn't miss his opening. He quickly aimed at her. Cut the crap, man! What do you mean killing her is for my own good? Once she's dead, you'll understand. The gunman's finger tightened on the trigger. Cliffhangerek, ale w sumie ciekawe, że dojechaliśmy Achiego aż do końca godziny. Bez wielu przeszkadzajek to było. Yep, masa 55. Wszystko na legalu. Ta Majesza ta będzie zablokowana, więc... została nam jeszcze jedna osoba, a myślę, że tak właśnie zdążymy jakiś jeden plotline, jak nie w całości zrobić, to w dużej mierze, zależy jak tam się będzie blokowało. Ale same do wyboru. Dalej śledztwo z Shinya Kano. Ratowanie gazety z Minorikawą. Albo jedzenie banana z Kenjim Osało. A widzisz, Smiglew, z drugiej strony możemy zrobić Osałę i wtedy będzie out of the way. Wszystkie unlocki zrobione i może w świętym spokoju potem innych ludzi. Oj, to byłby bad ending, gdyby Local Himbo raczej zaczął zabijać ludzi. Ale no cóż, głos na Kano, tym bardziej, że TVR się dużo głosów nie miał. Kano had been watching syndicate members hand off the attaché case for an hour and a half. He still had no idea where this relay might be headed. The man he was tailing now was about 10 meters away. Close enough that Kano could close the distance and apprehend him at a moment's notice. But his orders remained the same: follow and observe. He watched as the case was handed off once more. By now, the shock of seeing it pass to yet another accomplice had worn off. It's already been 19 minutes, huh? It was Sasayama. At some point, he'd crept out on Kano from behind. They don't seem like they're trying to get away at all, Kano said. They're just walking. What could they be up to? Sasayama shrugged. Yeah, it's weird. Kano recalled Dictum 89. Dictum 89. The more irrelevant something seems, the more relevant it's bound to be. If Tatenos' wisdom held true, the syndicate must have some reason for what it was doing. Were they just trying to throw the investigators off their scent? No, that couldn't be it. They were wandering in circles, staying right in the same area. They were just running up the clock. What if that's exactly what they were after? Buying time. Kano felt a sudden conviction that he was on the right track. If they needed more time to make sure they got their hands on the ransom payment. Wait, hold on. Could it be that? Huh. Mojego altaba. Could it be that? The real case had already been switched out. Biorąc pod uwagę naszą kompetencję, mogli zrobić jakiegoś sekretnego handoffa i nagle 4 walizki krążą? Czy the ransom money wasn't even in the case anymore? No, Smiglew jest potwierdzony, że dzieli tę samą komórkę mózgową z Achim. Zaraz zobaczymy, czy TVR dzieli tę samą jedną komórkę mózgową z Shinya Kano. Could it be that the real case had already been switched out? It made a certain amount of sense. By handing the case off to one accomplice after another, they were leading the detectives to pay more attention to the individuals than the case itself. That could enable them to swap the case while all the focus was elsewhere. Kano shared his hunch with Sasayama. I see. I mean, it is a possibility. Yeah. You might be following the wrong case. There was a palpable tension in the air now. Kano, Sasayama said. You got a report into Kuza. On it. Kano's hand flashed to his wireless. But Kuza was dismissive. No, that's the case, I assure you. No offense, sir, but how can you be sure? Kusasai. Because that's my job. There's an ID tag in that case that allows us to keep tabs on it. There's no way these crooks could have whipped up a duplicate. ID tag? What ID tag? Wait, no, that's right. Kano had forgotten all about that detail in the wake of his all-nighter. Alright. Don't you alright me? Clearly you weren't hired for your brains. Focus on what you're good at. Kuza ended the call. Still, Kano couldn't shake his conviction that something was off. The man with the attaché case made his way back to Shibuya Station. The heck? Tasayama grumbled. He's right back where we started. Kano felt his frustration growing. It honestly looked like the syndicate was just randomly lugging the case around town. Near Shibuya Station, a girl approached the suspect. She was Japanese, and entirely unlike any of the other criminal accomplices. She spoke to the man while showing him something on a notepad. He glanced at the pad but did not slow down. Within moments, he had left her behind. It looked like she just passed him a message. "Well, that's sure fishy," Sasayama muttered. "What, the girl?" asked Kano. "Yeah. Wanna go hit her up?" Sasayama could only mean one thing: questioning her. Oczywiście, że okwestionujemy, no jakby się pojawiła... Take the call of adventure, jakby no... Yeah, let's go see what she knows. Sasayama and Kano hurried over to the girl. "Excuse me, miss. I'd like to ask you a few... Are you happy with your life?" the young woman shouted. She thrust her notepad in Kano's face. "Tell me this. Are you happy with your life right now?" "Huh?" Looking at the notepad, Kano saw the same question written there in big bold letters. The girl's eyes widened in surprise, as if she hadn't expected the two men to actually stop and listen. "Right now, sir," she continued more quietly, Are you happy? If so, if you could please take this survey about, about your life. Are you happy with it?" The more she spoke, the more flustered she became. Sasayama stepped in. "Hey, I need to know, did you speak with that Western fellow right now?" "Huh? No, that isn't what I'm asking. Sir, are you happy with your life right now? Are you happy with your life? Right now?" Kano got a sinking feeling in his stomach. His kid was looking for religious converts or something. "You did speak with him, didn't you?" Sasayama snapped. "What did you tell him?" The girl's rambling abruptly ceased. Her already ruddy face went even redder, and tears welled up in her eyes. Poor kid, Kano thought. She's just out there trying to get people to listen to her survey questions. There's no way she's part of this kidnapping plot. "Look, miss," he said, "for the time being, it would be a good idea for you to leave the area. Afraid I'm not at liberty to explain." The girl's only response was to start sobbing outright. I can't do this anymore. I wanna go home." Kano and Sasayama exchanged awkward glances. "I wanna go home. I wanna go home." Passers-by began shooting curious looks at the trio. "Kano, you get back to work," Sasayama said. "I'll escort this girl to the train station." He didn't quite manage to stifle the embarrassment in his voice. "Right," Kano said. He hurried away, his eyes already searching for the suspect they'd been tailing. It didn't take long to find him. The man's black garb made him stand out in the crowd at the intersection. It occurred to Kano that All of the criminals who'd handled the attaché case had been wearing the same black clothing. That fact made the whole situation even weirder. Could they really be ignorant that they were being followed while they were all wearing the same eye-catching outfit? It was more like they were going out of their way to make sure the investigators spotted them. That still didn't provide any clues as to what they were after though. The longer Kano kept tailing these guys, the less it all made sense. Was it really such a good idea to keep this up? Someone's life was in danger, and they were just letting the kidnappers carry out their plan, whatever it was. The very first page of the Dig Diary spelled things loud and clear on that front. Dig Dictum 1. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Right now, the single most important thing was ensuring the hostage's safety. This was a situation where Tateno would have stuck to his guns for sure. Kano thought back to that day 3 years ago. Burglar had shot himself inside a financial office and doused the place in gasoline. Kano had just been put on police box duty and was ordered to the scene because his box was just down the street from the standoff. Police box duty. Nobody is assigned to a detective post right after graduating from the police academy. Detective positions can be quite hard to come by. Candidates are selected for detective training only after accumulating enough experience working at the local police box, a very small type of neighborhood station manned by only a handful of officers. Several officers had surrounded the building, keeping close tabs on the situation. The suspect was shouting nonsense through the entrance and the first door. Things were getting heated. A crowd of alarmed onlookers had started to form as well. "Step aside," a voice said suddenly from amidst the throng. A middle-aged man in a rumpled business suit had approached Kano as he hovered nervously at the edge of the scene. "I'm sorry, sir," Kano said. "You have to stay back, for your own safety." He attempted to usher the man back into the crowd. A no-nonsense look crossed the newcomer's face. He spoke in a low voice. "I'm Detective Tateno, from the Shibuya precinct. What's the situation?" "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry. Yes, of course." Kano stammered, then quickly explained. "He hasn't taken anyone hostage, but there are still people on the upper floors of the building." Giving only a slight nod, Tateno marched straight up to the building. The plastic container of gasoline the suspect had used was on the ground out front. Jesteśmy w flashbacku do jego, inspirational poznania detektywa Tateno, który tam raz już był flashbackowany. Że był hostage situation, Kano był krawężnikiem, wpada Tateno i jest badassem. Tateno picked it up and dumped the remaining contents out over his head. Kano was at loss for words. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. "I've covered myself in gasoline too," Tateno called out from the entryway. The tension in the air ratcheted itself up several notches. "Hey! What the hell do you think you're doing?" Kano heard the burglar shouting from inside. "If you're gonna do it, Tateno called out. "We can die together." And he walked into the building. All Kano could do was watch things unfold through the plate glass window. Tateno was talking to the burglar, but Kano couldn't make out the words. The crook was clutching a lighter, his hands trembling. His expression was like that of a frightened child. Tateno slowly approached him and took firm hold of his shaking hand. The onlookers erupted into cheers and applause. Tateno handed the now docile suspect over to the detectives, and then wearily sat down against the planter out front. It was like something ripped straight out of a police drama. "That was amazing," Kano breathed. You have to deal with guys like that as quickly as you can. Let a situation like this get even a little out of hand, and you never know how things might go south on you. Lieutenant spoke quietly, almost as if he were talking to himself. As the police evacuated the rest of the building, Kano noticed that there were children and elderly people among them. If the perp had managed to set the fire, there was no way they would have escaped in time. But I mean, what if it actually set the place on fire? If someone's willing to risk their life, you're not going to convince them of anything unless you do the same. Kano still remembered the awe he felt at Tatenos' matter-of-fact tone. Kano hadn't become a police officer out of any real sense of duty. He just thought it would make Rumi happy if he became a detective like her father. Besides, civil servants tended to stay afloat in times of recession, and his time playing rugby meant he was in good physical shape for the job. He'd never really thought too much about protecting the citizenry or keeping the peace. But now, here he was in the presence of a detective who would literally risk his life in the line of duty without a second thought. A police officer never loses sight of what he's supposed to protect. Ever. Getting back to his feet, Tateno tugged off his gasoline-drenched coat and walked away. Kano wrote the words in a notebook he'd just purchased. Thus, the Dig Diary was born. Thinking back to the way Tateno had put his life on the line to rescue a bunch of strangers made Kano feel all the more raw about just tailing these syndicate members. Letting the crooks just wander around wasn't going to bring Maria Osawa to safety. Of that, Kano was now certain. No, Kano jakby tak low-key rywalizuje z Achi jakby w rankingu na najgłupszego himbo. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. He uttered the fundamental dig dictum out loud. Well, you've lost sight of it completely, a voice said out of nowhere. What? Kano spun around. It was Shizuo. Oh? Rumi was with him. Sir? Kano stuttered. Weren't you supposed to be waiting at the cafe for... There was some lowlife there, so we left. Rumi's dad looked plenty mean under ordinary circumstances. Right now, he looks like a man possessed. Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm still on my duty at the moment. I'm going back home, Shizuo huffed. You're not marrying my daughter. He turned to walk away. No, please, just wait. I'm done waiting. I'm now going home. Please don't do this. Just hear me out. Shizuo to najgorsza postać. Kontrargument? Kenji Osawa istnieje? Oraz żona Kenji Osawa istnieje. Please, don't do this. Just hear me out. I've heard all I need to hear from you. Rumi, we're leaving. Dad, please. Goodbye. Seizing his daughter by the hand, Shizuo stormed off without another word, dragging her behind. Shinya! She called out over her shoulder. Rumi. She was gone. Rumi was gone. Kano desperately wanted to go after her, but he hesitated in an agony of indecision. I can't turn my back on my responsibilities. I'm a detective. My work has to be my first priority. Going after Rumi isn't what a good detective would do. Oh, Detective Tateno. What should I do? Tateno, Still, the dictum echoed in his mind. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Ever. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. Never lose sight of what you're supposed to protect. I... 6 months later. Kano made his way through a small corner of a vast field in the Nagano countryside. Slowly and leisurely, he tilled the soil. He surprised himself with his own newfound enthusiasm for organic farming, learning more from Shizuo day after day. His father-in-law had taught him the ways of farming from the ground up, and while things had been rocky between them at first, their friendship was now growing strong. Pausing to wipe his brow, he smiled at the acreage around him. He looked forward to tending the crops he'd sown until harvest came around. If he'd stayed on as a detective, he might well never have known the joy he now found in his work. And this wasn't the only seed Kano has planted. By the time harvest season came around, the new life growing within his dear roomie's belly would be ready to celebrate it with them. Januszek Sending. Ma żonę i spółkę po starym dostanie. Co prawda, spoiler, bardzo dużo ludzi umrze w Tokio, ale tam na wsi nie ma na telewizji pewnie, żeby się o tym dowiedzieć. W związku z czym mamy jeszcze odrobinkę czasu. Więc zostaje jeden bardzo, ale to poważny wybór, zanim zaczniemy to sprzątać. Czy robimy Minorikałę jeszcze, żeby nie robić osały, bo może nie robić osały? Czy robimy osałę, żeby mieć to out of the way na ten stream? I kolejny zacząć z dobrymi filsami. Robimy Minorikałę, kończymy rzeczy. Nowy rozdział i można nie robić Kenji'ego. Okej, Tewery wybrał przemoc. Zobaczmy, czy Kenji... Zjadł już banana. Czas zaraz będzie na lunch. The rain won't let up. No matter how much time passes, it just won't stop. Ever since that day, the sound of raindrops has been burned into my mind. Such an awful, heart-rending sound, driving me to strip my life down to shadows. And yet, no matter what else I abandon... Przepraszam za autoplaya, to moje makro się zepsuło. Do chowania czatu. Nothing will make the sound of the rain stop. Osawa stared at the postcard that was nestled into the final page of the photo album. It purchased it 2 years earlier, while on a trip with Maria to the Middle East. Middle East, originally used to indicate Iran, Afghanistan, and the region surrounding them. In modern times, the term refers to part of southwestern Asia, excluding India and Afghanistan, and the section of northeastern Africa along the Mediterranean coast. However, in Japan as well as the US, the term Middle East is often understood to refer specifically to those parts of the region with a strong Islamic influence. He'd mentioned that he was being sent there on business, and Maria had just blurted out, "I want to go with you." She'd recently developed an interest in the Middle East conflict. And apparently she had been yearning to see the area firsthand. Panie Washington Post, o jaki Middle East conflict chodzi? The ongoing friction in the Palestine region between the Jewish people who founded the nation of Israel and the Arabs who had been living there previously. The religious and historical context of this cultural clash is well beyond the scope of what can be elucidated here. 4 to 8, Shibuya Scramble dosłownie bardziej based niż cała amerykańska prasa w 25 roku. His daughter's newfound curiosity had taken him aback. She had always tended to be quiet and self-contained. The clumsy conversations aboard the airplane, the meals eaten together in awkward silence, it all felt like such a distant memory to Osawa now. Mom, I'm afraid I can't let you do that. He heard Kajiwara's voice outside the door. Why ever not? I'm just going out for a bit. The detective was arguing with Ai. Great. And just who was it who told me I should try to go about my life as normal, Sawa's wife sneered. Mom, please, How would you feel about being told to just sit around and wait? Ai's angry shriek jerked Osawa to his feet. He hurried from the study to try to calm her down. Mom, please wait. But by the time Osawa had made his way downstairs, his wife had already stormed outside, despite Kajiwara's attempt to stop her. Co to są za spodnie jakieś takie plastikowe strasznie? Osawa adapted anything he could have said would have stopped Ai from leaving. Trying to physically keep her from going out would only have made for an even worse uproar. He was glad that at least it hadn't come to that. He was turning to head back to the study when Kajiwara caught his eye. Resigned, he headed down the stairs and bowed to the detective. Any idea where she's going? Kajiwara asked. I mean, at a time like this? Sawa shook his head. I wouldn't know. I didn't think so. You know, your wife really is something else. Sawa arched an eyebrow. That's one way to describe her. A rather rude way, as a matter of fact. Oh, no offense intended. It's just that ever since this case started, you've both been holed up in your own respective rooms. The more Kajiwara spoke, the more irritated Osawa became. What's your point? He demanded. I just mean, you haven't been having any, marital discourse. Marital discourse. According to one survey, in roughly 6% of households, discourse between spouses is largely non-existent. Various reasons for this were offered by the couples in question. Many claimed that they were too tired to have the energy to talk, or stated, we wind up fighting when we talk, or we have nothing to talk about. Mind your own business, Osawa snapped. Kajiwara dipped his head deferentially. The two of us not talking isn't a new thing anyhow, Osawa added. I have a policy of not having pointless conversations. It is quite common for Kenji Osawa to make it through an entire day without having a single conversation. On many days, he opens his mouth only to eat or brush his teeth. His current record is a streak of 14 consecutive days during which he didn't talk to anyone. Huh. It didn't look as though Kajiwara quite understood. Microorganisms such as viruses don't have conversations. And yet, still they continually propagate in order to survive. Pomyśl, jakim Osawa miałby power level, gdyby jego specjalizacją byłyby pociągi. Thinking about viruses, Osawa was back in familiar territory. He felt a surge of confidence. Once you have a clear purpose, conversation is unnecessary. And do you have a clear purpose for the relationship with your wife, Mr. Osawa? Of course I... No nie no, w docie musisz mówić, jakby... Mówić swoim teammateom, że fidują i... są w złym lane'ie. Of course I do. To be a family. Arms crossed, Kajiwara struck a thoughtful pose. At least I've learned one useful thing today, Mr. Osawa. Namely, that you don't like to have pointless conversations. It's a good thing to know. Kajiwara uncrossed his arms for a moment, then crossed them right back again, furrowing his brow. But see, that's funny. You seem to have a tendency to have pointless conversations with me, and because you keep coming to talk to me. Osawa saw red. You don't leave me much of a choice. Tanaka poked his head out of the living room. Is something the matter? He asked. No. Osawa struggled to regain his calm. Perfect timing, actually. There's something I need to talk to you about. He turned back to Kajiwara. My apologies, detective. But would you mind giving us some privacy? Kajiwara didn't move. Detective? Osawa gave the policeman a hard look and saw him crack a smile. Yes? What is it? Kajiwara said at last. Don't you play dumb with me. Give us some privacy. Is this a discussion I shouldn't overhear? Actually, yes. It's work-related. There are business matters I'd prefer to keep confidential. Ah, I see. Reluctantly getting to his feet, Kajiwara slipped away into the living room. Tanaka, Osawa began. About those emails. He stopped abruptly. Kajiwara had reappeared in the living room door, staring right at them. What are you doing? Osawa demanded. Oh, should I not be watching? Osawa felt like he was about to burst a blood vessel. I mean, you never told me that I couldn't watch. Because it should be obvious. The detective made a scalded puppy face and closed the living room door. Osawa let out a heavy sigh. He'd never been an extrovert, but he didn't recall human interaction being quite this draining. Anyway, sir, Tanaka prompted. You were saying? Yes, about those emails. Something doesn't make sense. I don't understand how Mr. Makino was able to get the antiviral agent to anyone on the outside. Sharing an Okoshi Pharmaceuticals drug with external sources, while it was still under development, required the approval of an executive committee that included Osawa himself. There should have been no way the antiviral could be sent out without his knowledge. Tanaka hesitated a few moments before responding. Are you aware of the strife between the company president and the chairman? Osawa shook his head. He was a researcher through and through. Factional rivalries held no interest for him whatsoever. Makino effectively leads the chairman's team, and the antiviral agent is their pet project. Despite being the executive officer in charge of the project, however, Makino still needs the president's approval to... You know what? Forget about this right now. What do we do about security? In theory, it was physically impossible to get the antiviral out of the lab without detection. Entry to the biohazard laboratory where it was kept required fingerprint authentication from both Osawa and Tanaka. Technology that allows an individual's identity to be verified by scanning the fingerprints. It is one element of biometrics, the measurement of physical characteristics to identify individuals. There are even devices that can identify people by checking the veins in the palms of their hands or the irises of their eyes. To było z gry, to był CSI skan odcisku palców. Tak, to nie był serwer, na szczęście. Without the two of them there, nobody could even get into the storage facility. Because the dangerous virus is also stored there, the lab where the antiviral is kept is protected by an ID checkpoint, as well as a sophisticated three-tiered lock system that requires fingerprint authentication. Multiple security guards are also posted outside the laboratory entrance 24 hours a day, making it all but impossible for an unauthorized person to get into the secured storage area. Tanaka followed his drift. Ah yes, I see what you mean. He inclined his head in thought as Osawa continued. Ho ho ho! Słuchajcie, zobaczmy, czy nas trzech do kupy dzieli jedną komórkę mózgową z potwierdzonym akustycznym geniuszem Kenji Osawą. Czy ktoś cyberhakował program do odcisków palców? Czy sprawdzić po prostu logi dostępu? Bo ja umiem Linuxa, Smiglov umie Linuxa, ktoś w tej firmie umie Linuxa, czy przyciskamy dyrektora, bo no chłopie, coś powinieneś ogarać, co się w twojej firmie dzieje. Okej, Tawery wybrał. Dyskretne śledztwo, sprawdźmy logi. Anyone who wanted to get inside had to present their ID card to the security guard on duty. It should be possible to check the computer logs to see if there had been any suspicious activity in the system. Tanaka shook his head. I already checked the logs, sir. There was no evidence of anything suspicious. You're welcome to check for yourself, though, if you're that worried. No, I believe you. Yet the fact was that the antiviral had been used for clinical testing. Either Makino had taken it from the lab personally, or someone working on his orders had done so. But how? Was there really some way they could have bypassed lab security without anyone else knowing? Osawa couldn't think how it would be possible. The living room door opened with a soft creak. It was Kajiwara, and he looked stiff and pale. Something terrible has happened, he said. Visions of tragedy flooded Osawa's mind. Maria, is she? The Kajiwara shook his head. No, it's not that. What is it then? Osawa asked, his voice trembling. Sir, I need you to stay calm. Osawa swallowed the lump in his throat. You see, the toilet's clogged. Plunger in hand, Osawa stabbed vigorously at the recalcitrant toilet bowl, struggling to loosen the unseen blockage. Plunger. A cleaning utility implement consisting of a soft hemispherical rubber suction cup attached to the end of a dowel. By pressing the cup over the opening of a drain that has been clogged, one can apply suction pressure to jostle the blockage free. Makes a variety of sounds when used, such as glub, glork, szlak, szlorp, szlup and pop. No tak, jakby masz tu ile 12 gliniarzy, wszyscy na pączkach. Tak się kończy. Kajiwara was at his side, wiping up the floor with a rug. How did this even happen? The detective groaned. Are you kidding? I was hoping you could tell me that. The plunger sucked and slurped at the porcelain basin. This was a first for Osawa. He'd never tried to unclog a toilet before in his life. Think of it as a blessing in disguise, Mr. Osawa. What the hell are you talking about? Kenji Osawa, geniusz nauki, nie wie jak działa sranie. No jest wirologiem, a nie fekalologiem. What about this constitutes a blessing? I just meant that at least this happened before you needed to your business. Without the slightest hint of guile on his face, Kajiwara picked up his bucket and headed for the sink back in the washing area. Grumbling to himself, Osawa pumped the plunger over and over again. This was almost funny. Almost ridiculous, in fact. His daughter had been kidnapped, and he was stuck on clogging a toilet. He was quite possibly caught up in a major corporate conspiracy, and here he was, unclogging a toilet. Tanaka poked his head into the bathroom. Did you fix it yet? If you need to urinate, then use the restroom on the second floor. That's alright. Here's fine. Tanaka stepped in beside him and abruptly shut the bathroom door. Now the two men were crammed together in the narrow lavatory. Hey, Osawa, what the hell are you doing? Tanaka made eye contact with Osawa via the mirror. He spoke in a hushed voice. I've been waiting for a moment he could get you alone. What? Tanaka sidled around to face him, giving him an intense stare. Sir, could you please be quiet for a moment? Tanaka had tears in the corners of his eyes. This will only take a moment. Osawa could feel the warm breath of his deputy whispering against his cheek. Tanaka reached for something inside his coat. No, koledzy. Jak wiadomo, Kenji Osawa nie jest najlepszy w relacje międzyludzkie, a... Okej, Tewery wybrał przemoc. Hey, come knock it off! Osawa lifted the plunger like a weapon. Quiet! Tanaka tried it again, taking out the cell phone. Here, take a look at this. Huh? Osawa could never have anticipated what he saw on the LCD screen. Keep out, ale pamiętam, że u... A czyjego chyba był skok? Nie. Na pewno był do Minorikały. Mamy. Jesteśmy tu o 12:20 w razie czego. To skok był chyba u Minorikały. Owszem. W związku z czym chyba na Travelerze zakończymy na dzisiaj. Jak się zbliżamy do 3-godzinnego marku, a ja coś muszę zjeść. I w najbliższym tygodniu zobaczymy, co Minorikawa robił z tą całą godziną i będzie dużo skakania na te wszystkie ostatki między nim a innymi. Bo to już na Kenjim jakaś resztka będzie i tak samo na Tamie jakaś tam malutka resztka, to mówię. Będzie więcej skakania niż ten. Będzie Minorikawa i potem samo południe godzina 13. Do zobaczenia za tydzień, miejmy nadzieję, że już w regularny wtorek. Do zobaczenia.